Sometime in the late 18th century, on a rattling stagecoach in England, a stranger hummed a hymn. She didn't know the man across from her was its author. When she finished, she turned to him and asked, "Sir, what do you think of this song?" The man broke down and sobbed, "Madam, I am the poor unhappy man who wrote that hymn many years ago. And I would give 1,000 worlds, if I had them, to enjoy the feelings I had then." This is the story of Robert Robinson, a teenage gang leader who went to mock a preacher and got wrecked by grace. He wrote a hymn so theologically perfect it feels like it was penned by angels. And then, he lost everything. Don't scroll away. This is the hymn for everyone who has ever felt like a fraud. Robert Robinson was an out-of-control kid. Father dead. Mother couldn't handle him. By 14, he was running the streets, leading a gang of petty criminals and drunks. He had no money, no education, and zero interest in God. At 17, he and his buddies heard about a famous preacher named George Whitefield, the Billy Graham of the 1700s. Whitefield was so intense, people fainted in his presence. Robinson thought it would be hilarious. He and his gang went to heckle, to laugh, to tear the man apart. Whitefield preached on Matthew 3 verse 7, "O generation of vipers, who hath warned you to flee from the wrath to come?" And something inside Robert Robinson snapped. He didn't just feel guilty. He felt hunted. By a God who wouldn't let him go. For 3 years, Robinson wrestled. He couldn't unhear the sermon. Finally, on December 10, 1755, at the age of 20, he surrendered. He wrote in his journal, "I found full relief in the cross of Christ. My chains fell off. What's the moment that broke you open? A sermon? A tragedy? A near miss? Hang on to that. Because Robinson's story is about to take a turn you will not see coming." Robinson was now a preacher himself. But just before he took the pulpit for Pentecost Sunday in 1758, he wrote a poem for his congregation. Not a stiff, formal hymn. A wild, flowing prayer. He called it, "Come thou fount of every blessing." He was 22 years old. 22. And he wrote lines that have baffled and inspired believers for 250 years. "Here I raise my Ebenezer, hither by thy help I'm come." Wait, what's an Ebenezer? Not Scrooge. In 1 Samuel 7, after a great victory, the prophet Samuel took a stone and named it Ebenezer, saying, "Thus far the Lord has helped us." Robinson was saying, "I'm stacking stones of memory. Every blessing is a monument. God has helped me this far. And if I don't stop and mark it, I'll forget." That's why the whole hymn is a fountain, because grace keeps flowing, and we keep needing to be reminded. But here's the terrifying line. The one that proves Robinson knew himself better than anyone. Prone to wander, Lord, I feel it, prone to leave the God I love. He wrote that at 22. As a brand new, on-fire believer. How did he know? Because he'd already lived it. And he was about to live it again. Robinson became one of the most famous Baptist preachers in England. He wrote theological books. He debated scholars. He built a massive church in Cambridge, but somewhere along the way, the fountain stopped flowing. He didn't renounce Christ. He just drifted. He started chasing intellectual respectability instead of intimacy with God. The fire that sent him to his knees at 17 was now a cold, gray ash. He knew it. He confessed to friends that his heart had grown cold and wandering. The man who wrote the world's greatest hymn about grace felt completely disconnected from the God of that grace. His own words haunted him, prone to leave the God I love. Let's be honest. Have you ever felt that? You're still in church. Still singing the songs. But inside, you're numb. The words you once screamed in worship now feel like lies in your mouth. You're just going through the motions, waiting for the feeling to come back. Robinson's nightmare wasn't that he stopped believing. It was that he stopped feeling. And that is a special kind of hell. She didn't know him. She was just a passenger, humming a new hymn she'd learned. When she finished, she said, "Sir, do you know, Come Thou Fount?" Robinson froze. She then told him the story of the author, a wild young man converted under Whitefield, who wrote this hymn as a young pastor, full of zeal. "What do you think of it?" she asked. He couldn't hide. He wept and spoke the words that have echoed through centuries. "Madam, I am the poor unhappy man who wrote that hymn many years ago. And I would give 1,000 worlds, if I had them, to enjoy the feelings I had then. But here's the part nobody tells you. The story didn't end in that carriage. That moment broke him open. Not as a punishment, but as a surgery." Robinson began to slowly, painfully return. He realized that feelings are not faith, and that God's fountain hadn't stopped flowing. Robinson had just stopped drinking. He died in 1790, still clinging to the truth he wrote at 22. A wanderer who came home. His last words were a testimony of trust in the God he'd been prone to leave. The stone of Ebenezer stood. Grace had led him safe thus far, and grace would lead him home. If you've wandered, you're in good company. Robinson's hymn is not a victory march for the perfect. It's a desperate cry of the honest. Bind my wandering heart to thee. That's not a statement of strength. It's a plea of weakness. The reason this song survives is because it tells the truth about us. We're all prone to wander. We're all building altars of stone to remember a God we forget by lunchtime. And we're all, at some point, sitting in a stagecoach of life, terrified that the best moments of our faith are behind us. But here's the gospel in one line: the fountain keeps flowing. Your wandering doesn't surprise God. Your numbness doesn't disqualify you. The same grace that saved a teenage hooligan in 1755 is reaching for you right now. Robert Robinson didn't write a prescription for permanent feelings. He wrote a prayer for when the feelings fade. Seal it for thy courts above. That's the end game. Not feeling good all the time, but being held by the one who never lets go. Would you let me pray for the wanderer watching? That might be you. It might be someone you love. Just pause and receive this. Lord, for the one who feels nothing anymore, abide. For the one who's been running, pursue. For the one who can't sing the old songs without crying, sit with them in the tears. We raise our Ebenezer. Here by thy help we've come, and we trust that the fountain will never run dry. Bind our wandering hearts to thee. Amen. If this story hit you, someone in your circle is sitting in their own stagecoach right now, feeling like a fraud. Send them this video. Not as a sermon, as a stone of remembrance. And if you want more stories that prove no one's too far gone and no feeling is final, hit subscribe. I'll see you in the next one.